is students. It's students who have been disenfranchised, families, parents, everyone for that matter, that is just not a part of the equity equation in this country. And so no matter your role, it's important. So even if you don't do kids, it's still important to understand some of these nuances and systems that exist that are impacting this generation. So to add a little bit of context to where we're going with our portion of the presentation, I just wanted to give you a snippet of kind of background history, really, really short, because I know our time is pressed. But many of you probably know that during segregation, there were Black schoolhouses, there were teachers, there were administrators of color who were teaching students of color, and students were doing well. Black students were learning. We had our own systems in place and things were going well. Post desegregation, white people did not want Black teachers teaching white children. White people did not want Black teachers as supervisors. And so then that kind of began the era of white superintendents and cabinet members and people in power. And we lost thousands of Black teachers, thousands of Black administrators who were no longer allowed in the profession. They didn't have anywhere to work. White kids began going to private schools because they didn't want to be in situations where the white children were in classrooms with Black kids and all of that. And so our children weren't being served by white teachers. So we've seen movies, we've read books, so everyone is aware of that. So you fast forward around 1965, a report came out. It was called the Coleman Report, and he reported what we already know, which is there's extreme gaps in achievement and opportunity between Black and white students. Now, behind the scenes, which is not always discussed, is what led to that, right? So how did we get to the point where we had all these achievement gaps, all these opportunity gaps, and some of the things that were happening were redlining, right? Black people couldn't buy homes in certain communities, rent apartments, you name it. They were isolated in certain sections of communities, rural areas, et cetera. There was a lack of access to healthcare, economic disparities, employment discrimination. So all of these things were happening that led to these opportunity and achievement gaps that are so popular right now, but rarely do you hear about the pieces I just talked about that were occurring behind the scenes. So what you'll hear often is that white leaders will say, well, these gaps are because of poverty, or these gaps are because of genetic issues with learning with Black students. And so I want you all to know that poverty is an outcome. Poverty is an outcome of all of this stuff that was taking place.
Yes.
End up poor. We ain't just land poor, right? It didn't happen that way. But because of all these systemic and racism and ideologies, that became the outcome. So from this, I just want you to know that the school system as we know it was never, ever designed to educate Black and brown students. It wasn't. It just wasn't made for that. And so that is why our students struggle, because this was not made for us. We weren't meant to excel. So again, your role is important to understand the system, the limitations, and then how are we going to advocate? What are we going to do to change how this is all manifesting right now? You can go to the next slide or add, Dr. Waller.
Now, just amen. Someone in the chat just said, tell it.
We gonna try.